What's up, fam? Welcome to the latest edition of Lazy Booking here on A2DRadio.com. A different night here. We are here on Friday night, coming to you after SmackDown, the Thunderdome. Coming to you after a Flyers win. Go Flyers! Moving on to the second round, defeating the Montreal Canadiens, and also coming to you after a dreadful and abysmal Sixers loss. So we're going to try to cheer you guys up. And listen, this is our SummerSlam round table, guys. So we want to welcome, you have myself and Maddie Sinsuti, the regular co-hosts here of the Lazy Booking, as well as our special guest, Pete Evans, joining us, one of our semi-regulars here at this point. Also one of my co-hosts from Birds of a Feather, and Mr. Ritz himself from In This Very Ring, which, by the way, you can catch tomorrow night, which will be significant in a follow-up to this show. Here tonight, we're not going to preview this week's SummerSlam. This is our SummerSlam Roundtable. And tonight what we're going to do, and I'm going to explain after we hit up our sponsors here, but we're going to go through the history of SummerSlam, and we're going to do it in a very fun and unique way. But first of all, shout out to our sponsors, Dr. Paul Vidal at Specialized Physical Therapy. You can find him in Burlington, Cherry Hill, and Princeton, New Jersey, and find him on the web, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. Also brought to you by Ambuck Services. Michael Ambrose over there running a great company. You guys need gutter guards, gutter cleaning, tree trimming, deck installation, restoration, any outside work. Please hit up Ambuck Services, AMBUCK services.com, where you can find the phone number. We drop it in the comment section of this show. And let Michael know that A2D sent you. And guess what? You're going to get 20% off all your services needed. So please hit them up. They're the best at what they do. We love them, and we want you guys to check them out. It's AMBUCK Services. Our topic of conversation brought to you by QB54, the best tailgating game in the business. Find it at playqb54.com and use the promo code A2D. It's going to get you 20% off at playqb54.com. And guys, SummerSlam, it's been talked about for years. It's the biggest show of the summer. It's, summer's WrestleMania. So our topic of conversation is SummerSlam is on par or on the same level or as important, as big as WrestleMania. Agree, disagree. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. Can't check us out live or can't catch the whole show, or you like the audio version? Hey, get over there. Subscribe to us on iHeartRadio, on Google Play, on Apple Podcasts or iTunes, whatever you like to call it. Spreaker, Spotify, SoundCloud. We're all over the place. So make sure you're following us on all the platforms. Give us a follow. Give us a share. Give us a rate. Share with your buddies. This is a place where you guys have a voice, and we hope that you're going to drop into our comment section here and join our conversation. So the premise that we're doing tonight, guys, we want to talk about the history of SummerSlam, but we want to do it in a fun, unique way. I want to get that comment in a minute. In a fun, unique way. So what we did, guys, earlier this week, we decided to do the wrestling version of the draft series. If you've been following A2D, we've done NFL current, we've done NBA, we've done MLB, we've done all kinds of different styles of draft. Maddie over at Hockey Happy Hour, they did an NHL draft. And essentially it's just for bragging rights. We want to hear you guys, it's a conversation starter to talk about current and previous names, which is a lot of fun, but also bragging rights for us. Who do you think drafted the best? So the style that we did is we took every SummerSlam match that has happened from 1988 until 2019. They were all on the table, and we had a random draft order, and we drafted our own SummerSlam cards, 10 matches. A couple of new little caveats to it, though, or specifics is your opening match has to be an opening match from SummerSlam. You can't pick a mid-match and have that be your opener. It has to be from the opening matches that have opened every SummerSlam, and vice versa. Your main event final match has to be a match that has closed out SummerSlam. After we pick those, we then did open the pool to where we could take a couple that make, if there was a main event match that wasn't selected as our main event, you can grab it and put it in. Also, you can only use a superstar once, and you're going to find out how hard this is, guys, because there are so many with having restrictions on titles, because you can only use WWE title and only one of these, Universal, WCW, or World Heavyweight title. So you can only have 2 main title matches. We had a minimum of 5 title matches that you had to use. So it was a lot of fun doing the draft, and we're looking forward. And this is a way that we could talk about some of the greatest matches and why we selected them, why we think they're monumental to SummerSlam. So, again, join our conversations in the comment. We want you guys to comment on everything. And we did a random order, not so random, of who's going to present their cards first. And obviously the Ginger Gang's going to close out the show. So, but we felt like we needed a pace set. We needed a tone setter. We needed that Sunday Night Heat pre-show to the main event. So we have in this very rings, Andy over here. He's going to be dropping in his card for us here first. And listen, if you can, guys, before we get to that, real quick, agree, disagree to the poll. Is SummerSlam on par with WrestleMania? Let's go to Pete first.
Oh, we can't hear you, Pete.
Pete's got to drop out and come back in. Pete, drop out and come back in. Andy, do you believe that SummerSlam is on par with WrestleMania?
Man, no, I don't. I don't think it is. I got to disagree, right? WrestleMania, at least to me, it and I think it was Wilson. Wilson says it almost the best, right? WrestleMania sits so high on a pedestal as the Super Bowl, and the Royal Rumble builds to WrestleMania. You start that build, so Rumble has to be second, and then third. I would give third to SummerSlam because it kind of kicks off that season, right? You have so much time between the end of WrestleMania and when SummerSlam begins that we've talked about it, right? Wrestling gets a little meh, right? It's probably the best word to explain. There's not a lot of good things happening. There's not a lot of bad things happening. It's just kind of there. But now, when you're on the heels of SummerSlam, all right, 3 months away is Survivor Series. Oh shit! All right, Survivor Series is over. We've got the Royal Rumble. Oh my God! Now we're on the road to WrestleMania, and now here's a 16-hour WrestleMania, right? So SummerSlam is, in my opinion, nowhere near what WrestleMania would be.
Maddie.
For me, I would say disagree. Not because SummerSlam isn't an important spot. It really is. And it's probably in a more important spot now than it was in the past. In the past, it came in as like a big special that came in as like, oh, cool, there's just a brand new big event called SummerSlam. And then it was just one of the other many pay-per-views that they had during the year when they eventually extended it out to 12. And all the 12 pay-per-views had something crazy going on, so you watched almost every month. But SummerSlam, I think, now has taken a much more important role because it's become very much it's come very close to Mania in the regard of how important it is on the schedule nowadays. But I would say no, just in the big picture of things, I still go that Mania still kind of trumps it because it always seems like everything – it comes at WrestleMania. They start fresh, and then you go to SummerSlam. SummerSlam, it really either picks up then to have something conclude, or something big that happened in the middle of the year concludes at SummerSlam, and then you go from there. But yeah, I got to go with Mania as being. I would say still trumps it.
Pete,
can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hey.
Listen, people. I just want you to know this is no false. This is black people can get tan too. This is where my heart is, and it's on the charges. I want you to know tan lines are real. No, it's hard to put SummerSlam on the same pedestal as Mania. It's even hard to put it on the same pedestal as Royal Rumble because Rumble sets up Mania. It's in a tough spot. It really is in a tough spot because it's one of the original Big Four, but it's kind of off somewhere in its own space. Like even Survivor Series is so close to Rumble. I mean, it's really only 2 months apart. You have November for Survivor Series, Rumble in January, and then Mania in like late March, early April, where you have that biggest gap between Mania to SummerSlam, and you're really not setting anything up, really.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of really that tail end of the momentum that Mania has. And most of the times, whoever goes over at Mania, if you think about it, at SummerSlam, depending, they may be dropped. Look at Benoit in 05. You look at I'm trying to think who else. You can kind of see Benoit in 05. He dropped the title to Orton after he came off his Mania win. You know what I mean? A lot of times, SummerSlam itself lends itself to a lot of trickery. You'll see that in our draft because there's a couple matches on mine. I mean, one in particular where they kind of swerved you. We had the swerve in 2013 with Daniel Bryan going over Cena and Orton cashing in, which I don't think made anybody's list. If I'm not mistaken, it may have. You got to stay tuned.
Well,
to find
what
out.
was that?
The Orton and Bryan match. No, Orton and Cena match. No, the Cena and Bryan match in 13.
It might be somebody's main event on this show.
And it's okay, so it may be, but you have matches like that take place in SummerSlam where because SummerSlam is lately it's been an event all of its own. You really found a sweet spot when they were doing it, and really Brooklyn became the home of SummerSlam. And almost that part of it, I would almost put on par with Mania from that aspect of the weekend itself.
Right.
Because you got Takeover Brooklyn, which is in its own right. It's almost Takeover Brooklyn is really NXT's Mania in some cases. And then you have SummerSlam right after that. So I know, pretty sure you went a couple times, if I'm not mistaken, so that you kind of really make a whole weekend out of it. And
I miss it so much in Brooklyn, dude. You have no idea.
Right, you know what I mean? So from that standpoint, because the Rumble's not like that, Survivor Series and Rumble, they're an event, but they don't have that big weekend feel, like where you can really plan a 2 or 3 day activity thing around WWE. The Rumble and Survivor Series just don't have that. So from that aspect, it is on par with Mania, but from what it means to the company with the quality that we get in the ring, a lot of times SummerSlam, because when we were doing the draft, when we did our little on Monday night, there was matches that we completely forgot because they just don't have that same platform that a Rumble or that a Mania has that presents itself.
Yeah. See, I have to say, and I'm going to give mine, and then I'm going to get to a couple comments, and we'll start going through the cards. I looked at the question. I say on par in terms of importance, not necessarily that it's the biggest event. I actually agree with the poll wholeheartedly, even more so than Royal Rumble, for a lot of reasons. I mean, I think Rumble is like a favorite for people. I know when I was a kid, I loved the Royal Rumble because to me it was like watching the All-Star game. Like for me when I was a kid, as much as I love watching baseball playoffs, I always loved watching the All-Star game to see all the different players who don't normally get to play against each other and with each other, right? Okay. And to see, 6 or 7 or 8 guys, which at the time, we didn't have Teddy Long throwing together the 8-man tag matches or a 10-man tag match featuring the Undertaker. Like, we didn't have that. So to be able to see that, aside from like Survivor Series, which was another almost like an all-star game type of feel, it was just something really cool. And I gravitated towards it. But now as an adult and seeing the way that these cards kind of have an understanding, I guess, being smart to the situation in the business, to see the cards and the way that they play out, I look at SummerSlam, and I actually think you touched on a lot of it, Pete. Look at what has come out of Royal Rumble, right? Like Royal Rumble to me is never close to on par of WrestleMania because all it is it's the igniting the flame to burn down to WrestleMania, right?
Right.
So it's never going to be that. It's going to be the Kickstarter. I look at SummerSlam and look at all the major things that have happened on SummerSlam. Look at all the major superstars that have built a legacy from SummerSlam. There's a number on my card that I could tell you that I specifically went after because it was defining moments in people's careers. That you don't see that with Survivor Series anymore. You don't see that with the Royal Rumble anymore. I mean, there's times in the past where that may have meant something, but I look at the longevity of SummerSlam and all the major events and the superstars that have been built from SummerSlam. And the fact that they do have WrestleMania level programs in terms of at least their titles. You know, if it doesn't happen at WrestleMania, what's the first thing people say? They're going to build it to SummerSlam. It's immediately the first thing that people think of. To me, it's absolutely on par. It doesn't have to be the number one. It could be just a slight two, but it doesn't mean, like, to me, they're on this level and everything else, including Rumble, including Survivor Series. That's like tier 2. You know, we're gonna do Chuck's lists here, right? We're gonna have tier 1, tier 2, and we're gonna build the pay-per-views down that way, right? That's that's kind of where I'm at with it. And I think absolutely once we go through these cards and we talk about these moments or these iconic matches that have happened, these things, these dream matches that we've never seen before. Pete, you stole one from me in the draft that we're going to touch on. When you talk about those things, that stuff didn't happen at Royal Rumble. That stuff doesn't happen at Survivor Series.
Right.
And I think it's really important to notate that when you look at the legacy. And I think SummerSlam actually, as the years have gone on, guys, has become more important to the company than it did 15 years ago. You know,
it's a transitional time. They can transition and pivot in a different direction. I mean, I will say this: like SummerSlam, you see a lot more straps change at SummerSlam.
You do, in a lot of different ways. Whether it's gimmicky matches, whether it's cash-ins, and everything under the sun, we've seen it a lot. Couple comments, Ralphie. Bring a few comments up, just whatever you bring up. We'll read through a few, and then we'll start going through the cards. Jake says, "What's up, boys? Disagree to the poll. Obviously, SummerSlam's a huge pay-per-view, but it doesn't come close to WrestleMania. Also, Andy's a crumb."
Jake's just salty because I called him a crumb on his show earlier tonight. Jake's
by the
just
way,
salty.
Shout out to Ralph Delavecchio on the ones and twos, who's going to be producing a fantastic show as he always does, and he proved it just by bringing that very important comment.
Yeah, he does an okay job.
Edwin James, Pat McAfee's going to punt Cole's head, baby. McAfee's been awesome, by the way, guys.
Loved his stuff.
And listen, programming note, tomorrow night on In This Very Ring, hosted by Andy, and I'm going to appear on that show. We're going to do the SummerSlam, well, I guess a takeover review, right? And SummerSlam preview.
It's going to be a takeover reaction in the first half of our show, and then the second half will preview SummerSlam.
There you go. So make sure that you guys join tomorrow night, so you're going to get a different spin on things. Frank says, "Hey, yo, sorry to bother you guys at work. Just wanting to drop in to say, hey, yo, sorry to bother you at work. Appreciate you, buddy. Love
Someone
the
was
picture.
creative today.
Brian Wilson, I'll disagree. When I was a big wrestling fan, it was the Royal Rumble second to WrestleMania. I'd put SummerSlam third, and that's a fair assessment. I think it was like that for a lot of years. Rob Povey, I enjoy the Rumble the most of all pay-per-views, but Mania and SummerSlam have been the big produced shows with celebs and shock appearances. I just feel that they are on par together in that way."
Okay.
And he's loving your Bootio shirt, Pete.
Yeah, man. One of the first phases of the New Day. They went from Bootios to pancakes, trombones, and unicorns, and now
Really
the
Best wrestling
DL
crew in the
list.
business. Thank you, Pove. Appreciate that. I'm going to read a couple comments that won't appear on there because they're in groups that were dropped. From a comment in Ultimate Wrestling Fanatics on the video from Kyle Barone. He says, not as big in my opinion, second biggest show for WWE, although I enjoy the Rumble even more than Mania. John Nemeth responds, "I always love Survivor Series. I know it's not as hyped as the other big three, but the stars usually seem to align there. Plus, it has a theme. SummerSlam's always just a standard wrestling card, though, usually a huge payoff." That's sort of spot on. I wouldn't say a standard wrestling card, but you don't. I kind of know what he's saying. I think I know what he's saying.
I get what he's saying because there are years where SummerSlam just feels like another month.
Yeah.
another pay-per-view in the chain
Right.
where, I mean, and especially we saw it last year with Survivor Series, how there's always that, and with the brand splits, that kind of bragging rights side to Survivor Series. So I see where he's at with that.
Yeah, it makes sense. All right, let's start the cards here. So we're gonna kick it off with Andy, who also had the first pick, by the way.
I did.
Ironically enough. So Andy had the first overall pick, and Andy, why don't you go? You can follow along with Andy's card over here on the screen. So Rich, let's go through your SummerSlam. And real quick, guys, reminder: if you're watching the show, please comment. We want you guys to comment on the cards, and at the end, stick with us. We want you guys to tell us who put together the best dream all-time SummerSlam card. Rich, take it away.
Okay, so big shout out to Frank for putting all these graphics together, by the way.
Thank you, Frank.
I started off with Seth Rollins and Dolph Ziggler from 2018, I'm sorry, where they go for 22 minutes, and it's where Seth takes the title off of Ziggler, kind of what Pete was talking about. SummerSlam always has, titles dropping and changing hands, and this was such a high-energy match to start off. Probably one of the better SummerSlams in recent years. So there was no question in my mind that this had to be the number one pick.
Okay.
But then I had to have a little fun with my pick. I am a huge nerd, if for anybody that doesn't know me, and I had to go back to 2015 when they brought in Arrow's Stephen Amell to team with Neville to go against Stardust and King Barrett. We've seen so many celebrities do matches, and we're even seeing it this Sunday with Pat McAfee, right?
Mm-hmm.
Celebrities and athletes from, oh my God, Refrigerator Perry. What's his first name?
William.
Thank you. Lawrence Taylor, to Hugh Jackman getting involved, and former WCW champion David Arquette, right? I think out of all of them, hey man, I just brought it up.
Man, it hurts me when people say that.
It hurts my soul. It hurts my soul so much. But Stephen Amell, I think, did the best out of all these different celebrities that we've seen. He really took the time to learn and put on a good show with Neville and Stardust and King Barrett. And then I went with the Women's Tag Team Championships, the Iconics versus Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. This was kind of where you saw a change in the women's tag team division, because now here was Alexa and Nikki. They were able to retain the titles and keep rolling with it, and it started a huge run for them, and they were kind of adding some validity to the women's tag titles that are kind of off in obscurity right now.
Mm-hmm.
Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero from 2005, custody of Dominic match. 15 years later, Dominic was having his first match. And it's funny, WWE posted on their social media, and it didn't click to me. Did you guys know that in 2002, Rey Mysterio's first WWE match was at SummerSlam?
I
And
didn't
now,
realize that.
18 years later, Dominic's first WWE match is at SummerSlam. So
Did not realize that. Pretty cool.
The Mysterio family.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And then AJ Styles and Ricochet, another solid match from 2019. There's not a whole lot you can say about this match other than these two guys were phenomenal. Pun intended. These two, they're two of the best wrestlers in the world, even though Ricochet is so underutilized. It's absolutely perfect. Now, on the back half of my list, Punk shakes his head because he doesn't like the Team PCB versus Team Bad.
That was a terrible. Listen, I'll let you talk first, and then I'm going to tell you why it was awful. Go ahead.
Well, and I'm going to tell you why I picked it. In my eyes, this was the start of that women's revolution, the change in women's wrestling. Shut up. The change in women's
wrestling started in NXT.
No,
I completely put a stupid name like Team PCB together.
I completely agree that it started down in NXT, but you saw it kind of getting that acknowledgement on the main roster, and this was the start for Becky and Charlotte on the main roster. This is where they took off. Shut up. Sasha was in this card, in this match, right? you saw a lot of things, and they were able to take this and manipulate these three teams over the next few months to make a lot of stories for the women. So obviously that had to go on my list.
I didn't even remember this match happened until you mentioned it, and I was like, wait, what?
Should we get a shovel and just start digging?
Oh, I already did that. I got the
Okay.
pulling my back.
I felt like when they brought them in, it was weird to me because it was almost the idea that we have to give them a rub by sticking them with people. First of all, the women's revolution, that started in NXT. It started at Takeover Brooklyn.
Where you at, babe?
So it didn't need to happen at SummerSlam. Everybody knew what was going down and how that was kicking off. Secondly, they never needed the rub. We didn't need Tamina to be a part of this. We didn't need the Bellas to be a
You just
part
don't
of
like
this.
Tamina.
It made no sense whatsoever. What was the necessity to add the Bellas and Alicia Fox? What was gained from that to make them seem like a big deal? Because
Notice how
immediately when they came in, they were a big deal.
notice how I didn't mention any of them. They just happened to be in the match. I was more like the team. If you would have just had this match, Team PCB and Team Bad, then I'm okay. Like the Team Bella just doesn't matter to me in this match.
But it didn't.
So
It didn't happen that way. And
Right,
we
it
judge
didn't
by
happen
how
that
it
way.
happened.
No, I
It was
completely
a
understand.
waste of time.
so
But I enjoyed this match, one, and I think this match had lasting ramifications over the next few years.
I thought about going back to watch this match, right? Because
No,
I
you
tried
didn't.
to. I
Don't lie to
didn't
me.
get to watch. Listen, I didn't get to watch everything, but I did start to go back and watch some of the matches we selected. I actually managed, which was fun, to go on YouTube and find all of my matches and actually order them on a playlist so I can watch them in order, in their entirety, which was a lot of fun. But I have to tell you, when the idea came in my head, okay, it's time to get the Team PCB versus Team Bad and Team Bella. I think I was done with the network at that point for a little while.
So basically what we were looking at the female version of Faction Wars that no one gave a crap about in the 90s, like Los Boricuas versus DOA and whatever group the Jackal had when Kurgan debuted or what have you.
Vince hates factions. But for
Supposedly.
some reason, when he decided to roll with it for a little bit, this was the program that he rolled with. Of all the other times of the club, which it's a stupid name, but they were good. They could have been a fun faction. Of, how many times the New Day worked, but how many of the other factions have we talked about, Pete? That potential factions that could have been something.
Well, I mean, you got Nation that could have been something, kind of was something. He gave Evolution a run a little bit, but
DX
I'm
was
talking
great.
about. I'm talking about. Look at right now, right? Like they're still individualizing them, but I would love to see like Apollo Crews work with Alexander and Ricochet and create a true faction of young guys to go after these veterans, and they're kind of just an afterthought, just three guys thrown together. But if you look at the caliber level of talent between these three guys, and even though I think they can talk, hell, throw them a mouthpiece somewhere to be the representation of them. Like they're all Paul Heyman guys. Paul Heyman loves all three of them. So why don't we have Paul Heyman represent these three guys?
Yeah.
Like make them a legitimate faction.
I mean,
they don't believe in factions.
Because they can't afford Paul Heyman?
And when you talk about Vince not liking factions, and then the faction that he decides to go with, as you see with Team Bella and Team PCB, his current faction that he wants to go with, or current angle, Retribution, is, there you go. It is what it is.
By the way, Stephen Amell, actually, he's the only celebrity who's wrestled on a WWE and an AEW show.
There's my point. Even more reason to put him on this card.
Wow.
No, it's even more of a reason to take him off. I was at that event. What a waste of time.
Just shut up.
So go ahead, go on with your card.
So then we get into what, in my opinion, is my really heavy hitters. It's a lot of high energy and big profile matches, right? Brock Lesnar and Triple H in 2012, which I think was just a violent, brutal match. And Brock Lesnar, and I think Pete, you were the one that brought it up when we did the draft. Brock Lesnar owned SummerSlam for a very long time. It was his show. and nobody could beat him. Nobody could get past him, and he got a lot of guys messed up at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
CM Punk versus Jeff Hardy from 2009, TLC match for the World Heavyweight Championship.
It's a good one.
This one was a no-brainer for me for two reasons. One, the match in just of itself is fantastic, but it has one of the best endings to a SummerSlam at that point in a long time, because the lights flicker. Jeff Hardy's on his back. The lights flicker, come back. There's Undertaker, right? And he choke slams CM Punk.
Yep.
Randy Orton, John Cena for the WWE Championship. I thought that match was at 2009, not 2019.
It was. Yeah, it's a typo. That's okay.
Okay, slight typo, but those two guys were at the peak of their feuds back then, and every match they had was just money. It's just right. Take your pick of Cena and Orton matches; they were all good.
Yep.
And this was also Randy coming off the heels of his match with Triple H at WrestleMania in 2009 here in the great state of Houston, Texas. In that program that he did with Triple H, Randy was at the top of his game in 2009. But to wrap it all up, you have to go with the iconic Undertaker Edge Hell in a Cell match that ends with Edge going through the canvas and Undertaker raising the depths of hell through the ring. And I'm an Undertaker mark, so shut up.
And Edge survived that and came back at that year's Survivor Series to win the WWE
I just was like, Dust. I'm good, let's go.
That's
Make
the
total
funny part.
sense, right?
I have no issue with that, by the way. It's a good match. I mean, it's Undertaker, and he's a legacy. Not the best Undertaker match at SummerSlam, but
No, but it's one that I enjoy. I'll go back and watch it still to this day.
yeah, I mean, of their, and again, guys, we talk about, this is a great comparison, right? When we talk about SummerSlam and WrestleMania, this was also a match that was a WrestleMania main event between Undertaker and Edge.
That same year.
Exactly. So this is something that, again, was placed not only on their main card, but was looked at as important enough that we're going to continue that on to get basically what I think was pretty much the conclusion. Ralphie in the back.
And here's the other thing, too. They had the championship involved, and here at SummerSlam, championship is nowhere near them because Edge had lost it by then.
Yeah. Well, no, Taker had lost it by then because Edge dropped it to Taker.
Edge dropped it to Taker. Taker then got it taken off of him because he beat Edge in a rematch. Vicky said he used a ban chokehold. So
that's right. That's when was the whole banning of Hell's Gate at that point.
Yeah, and then that was during the hype period of hating Vicky Guerrero, and then Edge eventually got it back and then lost it to Punk in a cash-in.
I think I was at that night. No, I wasn't. That was the next year.
Andy doesn't like Undertaker because of this.
Well, shut up. Okay. All right. It made more sense now. I was like, why wouldn't I like The Undertaker? What?
Yeah.
Timing, Ralph. Timing.
Overall, Andy, I'm going to be nice. There's some duds. I'm being nice in terms of there's some duds. I actually thought you did pick some pretty good heavy hitters there. Or some underrated moments that people don't jump out at people. But if you go back and watch some of those matches, they're really, really good. Like Ricochet and AJ Styles honestly wouldn't jump out at me, but it was a really great match. And I think it deserves to be recognized. I definitely think you have some duds. And again, this is why we have our own way of how we build our cards, right? But overall, I thought you did a pretty solid job there.
Thank you.
Anybody want to give like a number rating to Andy out of 10? Give him like
7.5.
Be gentle.
7.5.
You know what? I'm going to agree with Pete. I think he hit the nail right on the head. 7.5. I'll almost take it down to a 7.
I was going to say I'm going to give you a 7. I mean, you lose 2.5 points alone on the Team PCB match right there.
Oh, for the love of God!
I mean, listen. Keep it up. I almost gave you another full point off on Stephen Amell and Stardust. Okay.
What is so wrong with that?
I mean, we were this close.
The build to that was fantastic. Don't
That's
If
lie.
he had, see,
I'm
if he had
taking it
shown
down to
up,
6.5 now.
if they had shown up as Arrow, then maybe
Yeah.
it would have
Oh, dude.
survived. Maybe.
You don't know how badly that, like, leading up to that night, I was sitting there going, "Oh shit! If he shows up with the hood and everything like that, hell yeah!" Like I was amped, and then you walked out. I was like, "What the hell is this? It's not even a bow in his hand."
Buck Hunter says he loves your card, buddy. Raymond Rivera says, "What's up? What's up, Raymond? Welcome back, my dude." So again, if you're just tuning in, we're doing our SummerSlam Roundtable, talking the history of SummerSlam. If you're
Wait, can
looking
we talk
for
about that for a minute? Hold on, let's back up. There's nothing round about this table except our waistlines. This is more like just a square table.
Speak for yourself.
I'm speaking for me, Pete, Matt, and you two there, Tubby Wubby.
Wow.
Hey, buddy, 210, big dog.
I haven't
I'm
seen
down.
210 since like
I'm
the
down
5th
60
grade.
pounds since
Yeah,
December.
exactly.
So
Nice.
Yeah,
There's
Pete's dropping on
way to
it,
go,
man.
Pete.
so
But if
I know.
you are jumping in,
Still
this is
that
our-
FWO though.
for sure.
for life. For life. We know that's for
For
life. But if you're just chiming in, guys, we're the way we did it. This is our draft. This is the part of the A2D draft series wrestling version. And what we did was we drafted all-time SummerSlam cards. We just had Andy Ritter from In This Very Ring, Mr. Ritz, drop his card, in which he got a 7.5 from Pete, a 7 from Maddie, a 6.5 from me, which averages about a 7. And again, if you guys are on, if you're in our chats, please drop your comments in, rate the cards. So, all right, we're going to move on now. Pete's next on the list. Mr. Pete Evans. And Pete, we want you to go through your card. If you want to give an explanation why you constructed your card or why you picked it, or what your strategy was going into the draft, please do so.
I call this card the fuck a bathroom break card because you're going to be on your feet all night. Every match meant something, has a moment. We start off with Jericho Ziggler 2012. Jericho working as a face at this time. Coming into this angle, they've probably been doing it for about a month and a half, probably 4 to 6 weeks with Ziggler. Jericho coming into the match with some beat up ribs, and you just got two guys who could really work in the ring. One guy can really talk. Ziggler, not so much. Never really given opportunity. Every time he's given one, we all know what happens. He kind of messes it up. You can give him every step in the world to win a match in the current WWE product, and he still won't win the match. But at that time in 2012, I mean, I think this was this the year before his cash in?
Who, Ziggler?
Yes.
Or was it the year after?
Year before.
Year before, okay.
He cashed in at WrestleMania 29, which was 2013. Well, the night after. The
night after. Right.
That was 2013. So, yeah, this was kind of on that rise to that.
Right. So he was kind of on the rise. This is where we just got Ziggler at his infancy stage to where he was still kind of fresh. And then Jericho was just Jericho at that time. From there, I think that match speaks for itself with that opener there. We go with Legion of Doom, Hawk, Animal, their only title reign in WWE or WWF at that time, going over the Nasty Boys in 1991. We all remember it. Paul Ellering there, Jimmy Hart there. You talk about moments, Crow. We talked about building moments. This is a moment because after that, they never, in WWE, WWF at the time, they never had that pinnacle again. I mean, they dropped
this was the peak of LOD, absolutely, for WWE.
Right.
That's on Hawk, though.
That's
on Hawk.
Go back and watch that Dark Side of Wrestling episode.
Go back and watch Vice's Dark Side of the Ring, all about the that there was definitely plans. This was a huge moment, Pete. And real quick before you continue, you're going to see definitely see people's ages in this, the generations that we grew up in, because certain people are going to go back to those early 90s, myself and Pete.
The guys at the bottom, the old men.
Other people aren't, because they didn't live that moment. But Pete, that's a great pick. I love that match.
Yeah. Next, we talked about it, Mr. SummerSlam, really, Lesnar versus Orton in 2016. Talked about moments and spots. I mean, Orton was coming off, getting some heat backstage. Lesnar coming in, really thought he was going away for a bit. Somehow him and Vince worked it out. He's there, and then we all remember at the end of the match, Lesnar really, opens him up. I think he had Orton's consent to do it, but we see pointed elbows directly to the head, to get a lot of color. We talked about Jericho. It's been, the stories behind the scenes. Jericho approached Lesnar, was pissed because this is not how you're supposed to work. So we talk about just getting color in that fashion, aggressive, physical, hard hitting. Really, Orton really didn't even get any offense, and that's the first time we ever really seen Orton fed to the wolves like that. I don't think we've ever seen Orton fed to the wolves like that, in that manner, ever.
It was weird because it ended the night. That was the weird part.
Yes. Like it left you with a very indifferent feeling. Like, what did I just watch? Like, was that supposed to happen?
It was uncomfortable.
See, yes. I was in the minority though that I loved that it was something different, and it was a play on what we saw with Lesnar and John Cena, right? They were really. I mean, Lesnar is still kind of that guy, but they were really in that, like, he's untouchable. These iconic guys who were at the pinnacle: John Cena, Randy Orton. Some other guys were thrown in there throughout the run.
Triple H in 12.
Absolutely destroyed by this guy. It was uncomfortable. And at that time, too, you guys kind of touched on it. We weren't seeing a lot of color. We're still not, but we weren't seeing a lot of color. We weren't seeing that kind of brutality. Even when he beat Cena. It was pretty rough.
True.
Yeah, it was pretty rough when he beat Cena, but like you said, we didn't get the color. And then transitioning from that match where people may feel indifferent, going to this match at this time, this guy was that hot. This was coming fresh off Pipe Bomb. This was also coming up, I forget what the pay-per-view was in Chicago. Was it Money in the Bank?
It was Money in the Bank.
Yep.
Money in the Bank. Then coming back, John Cena, obviously we know they had the tournament on Raw. John Cena beats Rey Mysterio. He has one title. Next thing you know, we're here, Cult of Personality. Great rock and roll song.
So good. Love that song.
45 seconds in, nobody's still coming out. Next we got Punk coming out with his title. This was the culmination of that. Does ruin it a little bit for me. Alberto Del Rio cashes in, and you talk about a guy that has had numerous chances, and if all you got to do is Google his current status and see what kind of a JO this guy turned out to be. But I mean, he had numerous chances with titles in WWE. But I wanted to put this match here for the WWE title because I don't think anybody at that time, maybe Bryan in 13, but that was as hot as Punk was in 2011.
It's fair.
That's a very fair statement.
Okay.
Because this was coming off of the heels of Punk's this was the start of Punk's rise.
Right. So this is kind of the rise. I mean, obviously he drops it, but then he gets it back, and that starts that was a 400+ day run as a champ. Yeah. So I think it was the next pay-per-view, United Champions, I believe it was.
And this was the involvement of Kevin Nash to where they were supposed to work a program between Punk and Nash, and something happened with, I don't know. They still haven't gotten that story straight. I don't even think Kevin Nash totally understands what happened there, but basically it ended up just being dropped.
Right.
Which was very, very unusual.
Yes, it was.
Well, because didn't Nash get hurt?
I don't know if he got hurt at this time.
I
felt like he tore his quad every time you turned around, but I don't think he was like, every time he walked, I was worried his quad was going to blow up. So I don't think it was this time, though. I think that they just dropped it. If you hear him talk, he says that I think Nash still says he never understood why they never followed through with it.
Yeah, because I think Punk was willing to work with him, but we'll get back to that. We'll get back to you, LB fans. We'll get back to you, fam. So next from there, more of it. This is, even with this being like the only gimmicky match on my card, you look who's involved in the match, and this is how you pull a gimmick match off right. You don't do Team PCB, Bad, and Bella.
Oh, bite me.
You get one of the greatest of all time was on the Mount Rushmore, The Rock versus Billy Gunn, who's a great worker. They kind of had this angle going for a little bit in '99, and A lot of people forget about this match, but this was a kiss my ass match. I mean, it is what it is. It's a gimmick match, but it was a gimmick match that was good quality in-ring work. One high-level star, one mid-card star. And Gunn he was involved in DX at that time. So you kind of had that element as well. And you all know The Rock going against DX in that faction for a long time. And then after that, if we can get the second half, Mr. Graphics guy.
I will say, though, it's not just any Billy Gunn that The Rock was taking on. He was taking on Mr. Ass Billy Gunn with the greatest theme song ever.
Ass man.
You mean it wasn't against the one Billy Gunn?
Nope.
Oh,
Nope.
God.
Not that one.
No. This is before Billy and Chuck and all that dumb shit.
You look so good to me.
But let's give a shout out to Rico though for that one. That was the best part of that whole thing.
Yes, and those damn sideburns that bitch had. So from there we move into another tag team championship match: the Usos versus the New Day SmackDown Tag Team Championship for 2017. This match, this was a 6-star match. I mean, this match was. Every time they got together, they put on good quality work. This match took it to a different level. This was such a good match. New Day, Usos go over to New Day, but if you get a chance to watch it, just do yourself a favor, watch it. I mean, we all know tag team championship wrestling in WWE is not something that is really given the time and the precedence that it deserves. So when you do get the opportunity, you have to make the best of it. These 4 guys made the best of it on that night. And right from there, that match was hot. I go into a hotter match. I mean, to me, Shawn Michaels is the GOAT. Going against Hulk Hogan, my childhood GOAT. Go back, you can look at that work that they did in 2005, leading up to that. God.
This one hurt me, Pete, when you drafted this one. Before this draft started, I was sure that nobody was going to pick it as a main event. And I'm like, I will get this first chance I get as soon as it comes back around. And son of a bitch, Maddie had to hold out to draft his main event. So just so people know, we couldn't start picking from main events until somebody took their main event. Everyone took their main event. But it didn't have to be done in a certain round. The only round we did that, I think, was the opening card, the first round.
Correct.
Yeah.
So Maddie just waited round after round after round. And I'm like, waiting to get this match. And he freaking waited until Pete went before me. Like, damn you, Maddie.
I had to do it. It was too much fun.
I kept asking Maddie, like, please take it, because I knew where I was going.
So I'm looking back.
I kept saying too, I'm like, Maddie, when are you going to take your main event? I was trying to get that match on my card.
I'm looking back at how we drafted, right? So Maddie takes his main event 1, 2, 3, 4 in the 5th round. The very next pick is Pete taking Michaels Hogan. The very next pick.
But there was no doubt that was going to happen because it was a snake draft. Because if it was the other way, I was on Maddie's other side. I was taking it first. Yeah. It was inevitable it was going right after.
So for anyone out there who may not be a hockey fan, we call that an assist. I helped Pete score that one. So
much for that whole ginger gang.
Yeah, dude, you turned heel on me, bro.
Well, you turned heel on me too at some point.
You got the Marty Jannetty treatment. Hold up. Bro got Marty Jannetty.
Dude, straight put me right through the window.
It's all right, though. It's all right.
I think people forget that this match actually closed out SummerSlam. It was the main event and it had no title, nothing at stake at that time. In 2005, I mean, it wasn't a bad year. I mean, it was still kind of hot. You had the undisputed title, I believe, at that time. So put it in perspective. For this match to headline SummerSlam, right? You just came off of WrestleMania 21, where you passed the torch, or so what, somehow. John Cena's in his first WWE Championship reign. Just got drafted to Raw. Batista goes over Triple H, who at that time people couldn't stand because he never was at the belt for more than a pay-per-view. Finally, they give it to Batista. He goes over Triple H, gets drafted to SmackDown. So you have those two young, at that time, young guys new to the main event status, and their first title reigns as both the respective champions for their brands, and you have Shawn Michaels and Hulk Hogan headlining SummerSlam. Vince knew where the money was at. And they brought it. And I don't even think this match, you hear Sean talk about the match, he wasn't as happy with the match as he could have been. The match still came off great.
Yeah.
Because Hogan is Hogan. I mean,
right.
Terry Bollea is Terry Bollea at the end of the day.
And Pete, when you bring that up, right, I'm looking at the card. Look at the last 4 matches of that night. Randy Orton, Undertaker. Cena, Jericho for the WWE Championship. Batista, JBL in a no-holds-barred match for the World Heavyweight Championship. And then you have the 80s and the 90s duking at it.
It's all Hall of Famers. It's a Hall of Fame back end of that card. It's amazing. Any of those matches really could have closed that card.
Yes.
Could have closed that card.
And we could throw Shawn Michaels' performance and overselling in that match right into his Hall of Fame resume.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
My one beef with it, Pete.
Mm-hmm.
Not the selection. Just a personal beef, guys, is the build-up to that match almost drew real heat between these guys. It was so good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I hated after the match the let's shake hands. I just had to know stuff. Like, I would have rather it just been he loses, done, Hogan does his pose, and that's it. I didn't need I just need to know stuff. I forgot about
that.
Could have just asked.
I did forget about that too. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. I thought it tainted the end a little for me. Right. But clearly I was pining to take the match, so I'm a massive fan. And you're right, Pete. For us specifically who grew up in both eras with vivid memories, man, to see the guy who was my hero when I really started watching to the guy who basically overtook, the number one spot in my heart that I never thought could happen was a special moment. This was as big in my eyes, at least at the time, as in terms of never thought I'd see it, as Rock and Hogan felt. Yeah. I mean, obviously, Rock and Hogan was a little bit better.
That's on different.
And they could both still go.
Yes, at that time.
In terms of the never thought I would see this is a really cool moment. You know what? A better comparison. WrestleMania 31, seeing DX and NWO. Like, they're old. We know we're not going to get, this quality interaction. But to have that moment of Sting at WrestleMania and then have that unexpected DX NWO interaction that we've always wanted to see was a cool moment. That's, to me, where this kind of falls in. And it was a decent match. It wasn't a bad match. Yeah. And what was great about it too, Pete, you got old school heel Shawn Michaels in this build-up.
Yes. You got OG Heartbreak Kid in this.
Oh, it was amazing.
I was like, was Sherry still with us in 05?
I think that's the year she went into the Hall of Fame, actually.
We're gonna find out. Keep talking.
But no.
I want to say that she passed on I want to say she passed away in 07. I think she went into the Hall of Fame in either 05 or 06.
She did pass in 07, and then she was inducted in 06.
Okay.
So what you're thinking of, Pete, is she was involved in 2005, but it was when Michaels and Angle had their spat.
WrestleMania.
Right.
Oh, that was
the iconic Sexy Kurt.
Sexy Kurt, yeah.
Sexy Kurt. I'll make your ankle hurt.
God.
Angle really should have come out to that at WrestleMania 21. He really should have.
Lost it.
And that match was epic too. That match was great too. So I mean, it's just we can go on like with Shawn. It's just only 2 times I've ever cried. I've been moved to tears when it comes to wrestling, and I know kayfabe is dead.
Wait, it's not real.
One WrestleMania 35.
I worry sometimes that you don't know that, Andy.
Fight me.
WrestleMania 35 with Kofi went over, and then the day after the Raw after WrestleMania 26 when Shawn said his goodbye. Dude, I was.
Oh, you didn't cry for Flair?
No,
I didn't cry for Flair.
Flair still comes back.
I was kidding.
Flair was wrestling in Australia 6 weeks later.
I know. I was kidding, guys.
And then TNA.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
We
mean,
don't talk about that.
there's a few times too, Pete. I agree with you on that. Edge retirement kind of got me too.
Yeah.
And actually, Roman's announcement of leukemia kind of got me a little bit too.
That was a shocker because it makes it real. That's something
kayfabe is
outside of
eliminated from that, right? That's like a real thing.
That's real. Yeah. Edge caught me off guard too.
Yeah,
Edge caught me off guard too. I mean, but like with Shawn, man, because you knew it was coming. Like that whole Monday, I was like, I was debating not even watching it, and then they saved it to
you
the end.
had to watch it.
Yeah.
Right? Like I know we were just picking on Ric Flair, but even the Ric Flair thing, you had to watch
it.
because we didn't know, right, that he was going to be wrestling again in 6 weeks. We didn't know.
What's amazing about that though, Andy, is as he did wrestle quite a bit after the fact, but nobody acknowledges anything after his WWE retirement aside from the woo off with Jay Lethal.
Yeah,
that's it.
It's the only thing that anyone ever recognizes.
He got bloodied in TNA. I don't remember if it was against Hogan or if it was against Mick Foley, but it was one of those two. That's the only other thing people bring up post-retirement.
Yeah.
And we got to put retirement in air quotes. For that.
What they call it, a sabbatical?
Yeah, sabbatical. Yeah, his
sabbatical.
WWE sabbatical. But no, but actually, have you seen that episode on the network? They actually added in the part after Raw went off the air where Undertaker comes out.
So
yeah, I did see that.
I didn't know it was on the network. I actually, shortly after Flair's retirement, there was a DVD that came out. It was like a 3-disc Flair career retrospect.
Yeah, the ultimate
on there. Yeah, it was on there, and that was cool. You still have it?
I still got that.
I have it. I have it literally right here on my.
I could go get it, but I would have to go.
It might be downstairs. I don't know.
So after that match, you kind of spoke about it. You mentioned Mick Foley. This is his alter ego, Mankind, Stone Cold, in '99 versus Triple H WWE Championship. This is Austin at his peak, and I mean, this is Triple H. This is Mankind. Out of those three, who do you expect to kind of win? I forget. We also had a special guest referee, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Jesse the Body Ventura.
Because he
former governor of Minnesota.
Yeah. And he just started, too, at that time.
Yeah, he
former governor of Minnesota.
He was sworn in like 3 weeks before or some shit, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Avid conspiracy theorist, Jesse Ventura.
Yes.
Looking like Doc Brown now.
Like
really?
Yes. He's
It's
long
not pretty.
white hair. He looks nuts.
Wow. As long as he's a pull up in the DeLorean, we're all right. But no, so what intrigues me about this match is, once again, you talked about it. We can only use people one time and for a title, and I was like, I cannot have Stone Cold on the card. I cannot have Triple H on the card. And then really, this is the kind of best way I can get him here. And the match was good, and the biggest thing about this match, besides just the star power in the match, is I love the outcome of the match. I love Mankind going over, getting his title run for a little bit. Obviously, he's a guy, he deserves to chase. He's more of a chase guy than to have the title and then run with it. He wasn't built for that. And Mankind, Dude Love, Cactus Jack, none of them were ever built just to hold the title and run with it. So he's always been a chase guy. But to see it in that moment in '99, I had to get him on the card. So that's why it's here. But it's still it's a great match.
You know what's so important about that match too? When you talk about the chase, even though he was a heel, he was a son of a bitch. The Triple H heel run early in '99 at this point, where he just started to get in main event matches, was so important to the character that we saw the 20 years to follow. And I remember very vividly, some of his promos that he cut back then. And it was the whole, I'm overlooked and this and that. And I loved it. So to me, that might be the best version of Triple H that we ever got.
And I mean, he has great theme songs. His original theme song, I love that song still to this
with
day.
the guitar, the whiny guitar at the beginning.
Oh, that's the Hunter Helms Chelsea.
I'm talking
No,
about
I know. I'm just
after
busting his
DX.
balls. I know it's not
Yeah.
the one. He got.
I forget. Is it Mike's out? Is it
My Time.
Right.
My Time.
My Time. Done by Rage Against the Machine.
Yes.
That is
That was a great-
still in
that
my
was great.
playlist.
By the way,
go ahead.
awesome time in WWE when they were using like legitimate bands to make the music, and they had the best entrance music back then.
Yeah. So next, I mean,
Thank you,
what's
Screaming
better
Guy.
than one Taker? Let's have two. Right, Andy? You're a mark for Taker. We're all marks for Taker in some day. So in some form of fashion. So why not have two Takers? We can go. Taker goes away for whatever reason in '94. Paul Bearer goes away. $1 Million Man. Everybody has a price.
That was when the Undertaker was it lost in the casket match to Yokozuna.
That was 94. 94 Rumble.
Yep.
94 Rumble. And they did the whole lightning bolt. I remember that on the Titantron, the original 4 square. I was like, we never seen anything like that before.
9 years old, man. I was like, oh my God, how is he coming out of this thing? What is that?
and you just knew, like, you felt like we didn't know at that time. You were 9, I was 12.
And I was 3.
11. And I'm like, okay, we don't know what the inner workings behind the stage. We don't know that if a guy is going to get a chance with the title. Like, we feel like at that time, everybody deserves a chance with the title. And it's, okay, well, Yokozuna can't beat Taker in the casket match. You don't know that he has like 15 other guys. Everybody in the mama's going to run out to make sure Taker gets in the casket. You know what I mean?
There's no way they're building a big ass casket like that to throw the Undertaker in there.
Exactly. So, hence, we don't see Taker for 7 months, 6-7 months. See this fake Undertaker, primetime Brian Lee. You had to do what you had to do. You played the hand that you were dealt. Got paid very well, I'm assuming. Did a good job. Then first we get Paul. We talked about moments, Chrome. You can go back and watch this now. You see Paul Bearer come out with the Druid. You see the casket. Inside the casket, we think Taker's in there. It's a big ass urn. We open up the urn. It's a flashlight. Light points at the entranceway. You get the black and purple Taker.
An understatement.
I don't know what that shit was. I think
I think it was so bright.
Spotlight.
I think it surprised Paul Bearer too, because I think when he opens it, he's like, "Oh shit, that's too bright."
But yeah, man. I mean, thoughts on this match? Thoughts on this moment and this spot in the card?
I'm a fan of this. I love the build up with Leslie Nielsen looking for the Undertaker. Remember they had like you remember the Pizza Hut? Remember he's like in the office and all of a sudden you're knock pizza, and you just see like the shadow in the hands with the gloves drop the pizza on the desk.
Yes.
Oh, I loved it. It was so good. It was so cheesy, but so good.
Oh man.
But I loved this, and you know what was awesome about this too? Obviously better fake Undertaker than we got fake Diesel and Razor, by the way, 2 years later. But I have to say, what was great about this too was, it was the $1 Million Man who brought him in, right? So they utilized the $1 Million Man in this spot to basically say, this is the real Undertaker. I've brought the real Undertaker back, to which it was obviously the fake Undertaker, Brian Lee. And kind of that, getting that. And Brian Lee looked fantastic.
Well,
so close to him.
Well, it's because it's his real life cousins. They're cousins.
Right, but I'm still saying.
Are you serious?
Swear to God.
They are. Yeah. But you can usually see the difference in guys. Like, you could tell. And you really, like, to the naked eye, you really couldn't tell the difference until you saw them next to each other. Slightly you could. But they just they made him look so good.
Well, and it's to that point.
Was Brian Lee a little bit taller than Taker?
Undertaker was slightly taller.
Taker was a little taller. Okay, gotcha.
Like 2 inches or an inch or two or something.
And it's
one much. Yeah.
That there was a conspiracy for so long that Calloway wasn't the original Undertaker.
Probably the
Yeah.
same people who said the original Ultimate Warrior was dead.
Right, but still, it was a conspiracy. But it was because they looked so similar.
Yeah. They did look very, very close. It
God,
was
could
pretty
you,
impressive.
for a minute, could you imagine if that ended up being true? That Mark Calloway was really the fake Undertaker all those years?
Oh man.
Who's the real one? Dan Spivey? Like, come on, like, there's
But,
nobody-
but like, just think
They were
about
tag
that. That would have
partners
been
in
insane.
WCW.
We're talking Waylon Mercy over here. We're talking Waylon Mercy.
I'm
Do a
trying
little
to, what was
Waylon Mercy name drop.
what was the name of that tag team in WCW? I can't
Oh,
think
the
of it now.
That's vague
skyscrapers.
enough.
Skyscrapers. There we go.
Yeah.
Matt, see Andy, you need to be like Matty because Matty is younger than you. He knows this shit.
I didn't know WCW, bitch.
You should.
Dang.
I mean, even if it is trash most of the time, you should do some
Wait, what's
research.
funny is I've actually heard of skyscrapers though, because I was listening to Eric Bischoff's podcast and he brought it up. And I was like, "Who the hell are these guys?" So I had to look it up because he talked.
If you're gonna be stat guy Ritz, you need to have a knowledge base on this stuff. We
Yes.
need you. You're dropping the ball for us right
Wait a
now.
minute, hold on. In the entirety of forever, when the hell did anybody think we'd ever need to know who the skyscrapers were?
If you're an
It
Undertaker,
came
Mark.
up real. Your boy,
Fuck
yeah,
you,
you're
Matt.
an Undertaker, Mark. Like, what a fail! You're not an Undertaker, Mark. You're a
But
fail.
I said like
you.
that was his
Dude.
first. That was his first thing. Came out
Yeah.
with the chats. Like he had on the chats. Had to take off
Yeah,
the
the
black leather
chaps.
and shit.
The chaps, they were managed by I think Teddy Long too. Like
So
Listen,
Rich,
I'm an edge guy, and I'm all about Sexton Hardcastle.
Remember Triple H was what? Was it terrorizing?
Yeah,
He was in the
terrorizing.
Terrorizing.
Indian Deathlock. So
Yeah.
what was Mark Calloway's or me? He was called Mean Mark at the time.
Yeah,
WCW.
Mean Mark Callis.
Well, Callis. What was his finishing move, Andy?
Oh God, I don't know.
You're a
So
failure.
we're just gonna do this, right? We're gonna make me look stupid on air all the time.
Okay.
No,
I'll give you an
It's-
easy one. I'll give you an easy one. Who did Mark replace in the team?
In
Somebody
the-
that we know very well here.
yes.
that we know very well.
And I'll give you a hint. Him and
Vicious.
Undertaker did wind up wrestling at one point in a big match.
Wasn't it Sid Vicious?
There you go. There you
There
go.
you go.
Had to leave some breadcrumbs, but we got there. Gotcha.
I had to think for a minute. Yeah, remember, I've only ever had to look up skyscrapers once in my entire life because I didn't know who the hell Eric Bischoff was talking about.
Which, by the way,
Wow.
guys, if you haven't gotten a chance to check it out, we have interviewed Sid Vicious on this show. Go check
Yes.
out the archives. Hit up YouTube. You'd have to really scroll
And
on Facebook so
cheap
you can find it.
plugs.
Go hit up YouTube, find the Lazy Booking list on the A2D channel, which you better like and subscribe to. And hey, by the way, go back and watch our 2-hour plus interview with, well, about 2 hours with Psycho Sid.
Yes. So we definitely got on track. I will help you, Andy. It was a heart punch. Literally, he would put your arm behind your head like this and punch you dead in your heart.
That's stupid.
Yeah.
Wasn't
it was
that,
1989, 1990. But I mean,
wasn't
it's your
that-
heart. If you get punched in your
Yeah.
heart and it stops.
Right, no, I get it, but like in retrospect, I think that's
What?
stupid.
Wasn't that Stan Stasiak's finisher too?
Yeah.
But like,
Yes. It was.
Okay.
So if you got directly punched in the heart, it could do some serious damage, right? Like
I
in
don't know,
real
man.
life-
I got
For more than
layers
3
of
seconds.
protection up here,
For
bro.
more than 3
Like-
seconds.
like in real life, if you got punched directly in the heart, it would do some serious damage to you. So the fact that a real life like could stop your heart, kill you move, is something you don't like. It's not cool enough for you. You'd rather have like Big Ending by Big E that he basically just picks a guy up and splashes him on top of himself.
So, Ralphie, I don't know if we can put up the last. Are we good to put up the last comments? The last commenter, the most recent one. We have his name based on his handle. Can we put that up? Are we okay to put that up? It was on Periscope.
There's no way he puts that up. There's no way.
Put it up. Put it up.
That's what she said. Ralph said no way. Ralph said not happening. Not happening.
All right, I gotta check the comment tab now just to see what the hell you guys are talking about.
I don't see it.
Here, I'll handle this.
All right, you do that.
It was it's three comments up, 2 comments up.
I got it. Just check your phone.
Oh,
is it that Arabic dude? Okay.
No,
Yeah,
fool.
Nope.
So
All right.
Someone made a comment from Periscope, said he stopped watching WWE in 2010. Perfect.
His name is
for my
Long
man.
Penis, by the way.
Yeah, Long Penis.
Oh,
So,
I see him now.
so it's perfect. He's the era that's perfect for my main event, which ultimately is probably the next. I don't know, man. There's been so many good.
Horrible segue to your main event.
Why? It speaks for itself. It's the only SummerSlam that took place outside the country, in the stadium, open air.
What the hell does 2010 have to do with it?
Because it's when he stopped
watching.
watching.
Why don't you listen?
Jesus,
let
Christ.
him talk.
Fuck. It's the only SummerSlam that took place outside the country. It's the only SummerSlam that took place in an open air stadium. They've been given the venue like that because Vince was trying to make it a more global audience. And the way you do that is you put the British Bulldog against his real life brother-in-law at the time, Bret Hart, for the Intercontinental title in Wembley Stadium, and you had Savage Warrior on the card, if I'm not mistaken. You had LOD versus Money Inc. and white and gold motorcycles, the second match in. You had Taker. I forget who he went against, but it was early in the fucking card. No matter of fact, it was Warrior Savage in '92, I believe.
It was Warrior Savage. Yep.
So Warrior Savage, not even the main event. It's the first time that I can remember that the IC title main evented a Big Four pay-per-view.
It was Undertaker, Kamala.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Rest in peace, Kamala. At that time, was it the casket match?
No, that was Survivor Series.
Okay.
You also had Rick Martel versus Shawn Michaels.
Okay.
Nails versus Virgil, Natural Disasters, Beverly Brothers, Crush versus Repo Man, Tatanka versus the Berserker.
Man, this is like me and Pete in like our infancy. I'm loving this card.
Yep, that's what I'm saying.
And he's like, I don't know who any of these people are.
Papa Shango versus Tito Santana.
By the way, Papa Shango's Godfather, Andy.
I know that.
Oh my God!
What just happened? I hate my life.
So, real shit, I'm gonna tell you this, Andy. You probably would not want to meet the Berserker in real life. Like, the dude was really great. Like, he was really crazy. He was just recently in the news, like within the last 18 months, if I'm not mistaken, correct? Like, he did some crazy shit in a public venue where he got arrested or something like that. It was crazy. But nevertheless, the match itself,
hush.
He was trying to be Bruiser Brody. That's who he was trying to be. Obviously,
yeah,
he could not be
Viking Bruiser Brody.
Yeah, nobody could be Bruiser Brody.
no. But I really put this once. It's hard to put. We always think about Steamboat Savage, WrestleMania 3 Intercontinental title. You guys talked about another good one that was at SummerSlam '98, Triple H versus The Rock. That was a great one. We talk about the second ladder match in '95. We can talk about HBK versus Razor Ramon. This match here, to give this magnitude, was one of the first times I've seen a title change hands off of just a regular move. There wasn't no finishers, there was no sharpshooter, there was no power slam, and an emotional tie to it when you have his wife, Bret's sister at the time, just watching at that time. And then we all know that. I know Chrome's not the biggest Bret Hart fan, but Bret Hart was destined for bigger things in Vince's eyes.
It's a great match. I don't take anything away from this.
No, this is a great match. Great match, great moment. This happened to be for Intercontinental title, and it happened to be a main event. And I don't think we ever seen a SummerSlam on a grander scale from a venue-wise since this. I can't think of another one. It's never been in an outdoor stadium since then, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Correct.
No.
So I think I did all right. I didn't do too bad. It was tough. It was tougher than I thought. So what grades would you give me?
I like your card a lot, Pete. I would probably give you about an 8.5 on your card.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
I'd probably go
Maddie?
8.
I'm gonna go 8.5.
Yeah. Sorry, Andy.
It's okay. This is not a competition.
Yes, it is. That's the whole point of this.
Jesus Christ.
I don't look at it as that, okay?
This is why you lose.
I'm not in it to win it.
By the way,
You
Undertaker
don't
was a part of the skyscrapers in WCW.
No. Good card. It's a good card. Honestly, that main event is so good. It's one of the greatest main events in SummerSlam history. And that's another one, like, and you guys know from our draft the other day, that one and Michaels and Hogan were two that I would hope main events that wouldn't get taken as their main events. I was hoping these would just take title matches, and then I could snag those next couple picks. That I'm not a Bret Hart guy, but that was a phenomenal match. Not a big Davey Boy guy either, but I can never take away what a phenomenal moment this was in WWE's history.
I would say it's probably Davey Boy's greatest match of his entire career.
I would debate that.
Well, okay. Would you say maybe singles and exclude if you're taking out the tag team? No. Okay.
No. It could be, but I think the inaugural European title match in Germany between between Davey Boy and Owen.
That's a good one.
Maybe at least on the same level. You know what? I'll give it the nod, though, here because this was a main event of a major pay-per-view. But to me, those matches are 1 and 1A with Davey Boy, and then everything else. And ironically enough, against two Hart brothers.
Yep, two brother-in-laws. All right.
But yeah, no, it's pretty good.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I tried. You asked for me to participate. I wanted to bring my A game, so I brought my A game. Not just here to look good with a headset on.
No, and again, that's what's fun about this, guys. Is Povia, by the way, I give it a 10, fucking 10. Little Varsity Blues reference, I love it. But what I'm enjoying about this, we're busting Andy's balls, and then I'm busting some balls a little bit, but you get to see everybody's personality, and that's what's so great about it. Is there's so many different ways. So many different things that happen at SummerSlam for everybody over the years, and there's so many different ways to kind of view them. And it's such a unique way by doing it this way that we can kind of review some of the greatest moments in the history of SummerSlam. And with that, we're going to move on to Mr. Matty Sensudi.
Okay.
Matty, we're going to run through your card here.
All right, then. So let's kick it into high gear here. All right, so my opening contest was from 1998 for the WWF European Championship. D'Lo Brown defending against Val Venus. This matchup was a fun opening contest. At this point, D'Lo Brown was just starting to do the chest protector thing, where it was reinforced, quote unquote, and Val and him did a lot of work with that, where Val would go for a punch, but he wouldn't be able to do any damage, and it hurt him instead. And they had some great moments where D'Lo, even though they made a mistake on a power bomb, they did it again, and D'Lo did a running power bomb, and it was beautiful. D'Lo countered one of Val's moves into a sky high. And Val could never hit the money shot because D'Lo always cut him off. It was a really good technical match. The only thing that does suck was that it was a schmozz finish because Val threw the referee down, and that eventually got the DQ finish. But I liked it, though, because it helped that rivalry continue and helped D'Lo continue to hold on to the European title as a heel, and he was getting billed from different places. When you look at great European champions, even though we did vote and we did process, and Davey Boy is number one, D'Lo absolutely is in the top 5 in terms of European champions. This was one of those reasons why. He had an amazing run, and this was one of those better matches he had during that run.
You love the European title, man.
Dude, I have a soft spot for it. I have the belt. I love that title.
It was a very, very nice looking title.
Yes, it was.
Back in its day, man. Oh well. Yeah. Hey, man, they got a cool looking U.S. belt now too. So there you go.
Yes.
Agreed.
But yeah, so love this contest. Thought it was a really good opener for 1998. Minus the schmaz finish, definitely a great technical matchup between two very good workers. And I picked it because it had no main eventers in it too, so it left me open for the rest of the card as well. Now, on to my number 2 match, Eddie Guerrero versus Kurt Angle. And Kurt Angle did have Luther Reigns in his corner at that time. That was during that thing. But 2005, this is a great rivalry between these two. Angle screwed Eddie over and cost him the WWE title twice. Once as GM, the other time he was dressed up as a luchador. Second time, one of the first times he ever screwed somebody over as a masked man. The other time was Baron. But it was a great rivalry because it had good technical wrestling to it. Angle and him had some real strong feud between those guys. And even before then, when they were fighting over the WWE title, and they started off as friends, then became opponents going into WrestleMania 20, this kind of ended that feud. And I thought it was a great finish. And Angle got the win, too, which you have to like it because it's like, you know what? It shows the ankle lock. It's one of the most devastating holds in all of wrestling because it's Kurt Angle, so great matchup there between these two. Next contest that I have, Paige versus AJ Lee for the WWE Divas title 2014. During that time period where the Divas division was kind of at times, Paige and AJ carried that division. For a while, they carried that division. And no offense to any of the other females who were there. Of course, Mickie James comes to mind. You had Natty. Well, not Mickie at that time, but when it first started out. Natty as well. They really, and Beth, they were a big part of it. But Paige and AJ were the biggest rivalry in the women's division at that time. AJ wound up... little bit of a mistake I made here. Tried to correct it. Paige was not the champion going into this. AJ was. Paige got the belt back because it was just the week before AJ had lost the title, or Paige had lost the belt to AJ. But great matchup here. They had a really crazy spot on the outside where Paige dropped AJ right on her face on the guard railing. And I thought it was, wow, this is a really good example of what women's wrestling could do and what women's wrestling could be and would eventually become to what it is in the modern day standard. It was one of those early shots of, okay, this is what women's wrestling can be if you give it a shot. And definitely good. Also, before there was Sasha, there was AJ. But anyway, on to number 4.
Never seen someone skip so beautifully ever.
Yeah. Punk's a lucky bastard. That's all I can say about that. Yeah, all right. Let's see here. Shane McMahon versus Steve Blackman for the hardcore. Okay, we have to get the train wreck matches in here. I represented the train wreck matches. I'm very proud of that fact. WWF Hardcore title, Shane McMahon versus Steve Blackman. And I put this one in early because it's for the hardcore title and give the fans a moment of breath afterwards. But, so Shane, basically all you need to know is Shane was the hardcore champ. He was trying to stay away from Blackman. Mick Foley had suspended the 24/7 rule going into this matchup, so it had to be at SummerSlam when the title changed hands. Shane climbs up the side of the SummerSlam entrance. This is the same show, by the way, that has the TLC match too, by the way. And Shane is sitting up there trying to get away from Blackman. Blackman hits him with a kendo stick 3 times. Shane falls off the side of the entrance onto a table-covered crash pad. Blackman then climbs down a little bit, does an elbow off, gets the pin, and becomes the new hardcore champion. Wow. That moment is just, it's burned into my brain. I will never forget Shane just falling from that height. Unbelievable. But, yeah, and Shane will try to repeat that over time. It becomes a trend. But after that,
Andy was there at 32.
Yeah, true.
The night we chanted, "Please don't die."
Yeah. I wonder if that cell was higher than that truss. That's what I'm wondering. That
scary as hell. We were probably 10 feet. No, we were probably from us probably about 30 yards. AT&T Stadium's huge, right? We were probably 30 yards away, and that son bitch was tall.
Yeah.
He said, "Some bitch." All right, Stone Cold, Andy Austin.
Hey man, I gotta wrap the Texas thing.
I hear you.
Okay, so on to my number 5 match. This one, I'm going to admit, I probably should have put a little later in the card, but oh well, it is what it is. Too late to change it. Alexa Bliss coming in as Raw Women's Champion to go up against Ronda Rousey. Rousey, of course, had previously in the month before faced Nia Jax for the belt, but Alexa interrupted it, cashed in, beat Nia, and took the belt. This built up to their SummerSlam match. I like this matchup. Looking back on it when I watched it again, it's like I love the psychology that was done here. Bliss was scared shitless of Ronda the entire time and was just trying to draw out the match, and they were smart not to make it a long one. Rousey just crushed Bliss, and she won the women's title. I liked it because of the fact that it was a big moment because Ronda making the transition from MMA into wrestling. Now she's a women's champion, which we knew was going to happen at some point, but it was a really well done match in my opinion, with Bliss being being the cowardly heel that she was at the time. You know, she really brought out the best, I thought, in that match leading up to Rousey beating her.
Agree.
I think it's a great match. I
was
shit
pissed
on
when you
Ronda
picked
Rousey.
it.
Yeah.
I wanted that match bad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
so
like
that's
that
the
match, Manny. And Ronda,
cool.
you know, people don't love Ronda, but man, I think they could really use Ronda right now in that women's division.
Yeah, they could.
100%.
Because she took to the ring like a fish swims in water. She was beautiful in the ring. Like I don't ever really remember her botching or anything like that. She really did a great job.
Well, and by the time
Yeah.
SummerSlam rolled around, you thought she was a veteran of several years. You know,
Yeah.
it just her mic skills still needed some work, and obviously the whole be angry or don't be angry, right? That Ryan loved to get so fired up about, you know, which I try to egg that on as much as I humanly could back then. But watching her in the ring, she was flawless. You know, and a lot of that took to the fact that she moved down to Orlando and was in the performance center all the time.
And learn from Natty.
Yeah, was learning from one of the best.
I mean, as much as
Absolutely.
Cat Lady can be annoying, she is a hell of a trainer. She's proven it.
We have the Heart Cat Lady, Natty. Okay. So let's see here. On to match number 6. This one from 2016. No title. Didn't need one. This was all on pride. John Cena versus AJ Styles. This match right here, and I will be the first one to admit, back in the day, I hated John Cena. I was one of those assholes. But let me tell you, if you still hate John Cena after this match, I don't know what to tell you, because this was one of the best matches Cena ever had. And it wasn't just because AJ was in it. Cena put a great deal into this match as well. Both of them were just absolutely put over strong. They came out great. AJ got the win, but that set us up for John Cena eventually taking the WWE title actually off of AJ in the Rumble later on that January. And actually matching, that's funny, and actually tying Ric Flair's record. So it was actually really great to set up that long-term build to that eventual title change. And this was a great matchup with Cena taking the loss, putting the never give up on the mat, patting it, walking away. You know, it was a great show of, you know, two great generational talents meeting each other for the first time in the ring. It was a great match.
They had a great chemistry together, and it wasn't just, it was in the ring and it was outside of the ring. It was the mic and promo work. I mean, I thought that AJ kind of struggled a little bit hokey with his promos, but his program with Cena, I felt like he turned the corner and never looked back. You know, what was it, the Kmart shopping ass comment that he made, talking about Cena and his jorts.
Yeah.
I really believe that promo was AJ's true introduction to WWE, because we all know in WWE, yeah, the in-ring matters, but it's all about character development and being able to build a program, build your character, and a lot of it is through promo skills, interaction, or, you know, whether it's by yourself. And I felt like that promo with John Cena and everything that followed after was exactly what AJ needed at the right time, and he's never looked back since then.
Nope.
Absolutely. And when he did that comment, it reminded me of the comment Triple H did when he was doing the whole thing with John Cena. And he said, sorry if I'm not scared when one of the big signature moves of you is pumping up your Reeboks, which I thought that was a great comment when Triple H made that one. But that was back when Cena was still young and up and coming. Boy, how time flew. But anyway, on to number 7. I had to take this match the first chance I got. I saw it. I'm like, I'm taking it.
So bad.
TLC number 1, baby. 2000. Edge and Christian defending their tag team titles against the Dudleys and the Hardys. The best 3-way rivalry in the history of tag teaming. I will stand by that forever. I can't think of a better rivalry on that one. But this is how you do a 3-way match, by the way, Andy. This is a 3-way match right here in tag teaming. That's done real.
We're gonna keep taking shots. Okay.
Yep.
All right,
That's how you do it. They should have had a TLC match. But anyway, Edge and Christian defending their belts against the Dudleys and Hardys. Edge and Christian building up a ton of heat. The Dudleys and the Hardys wanted to get at them so bad. And finally, tag team titles hanging in the air. It's go big, go home TLC match that Mick Foley made after Edge and Christian were going to stand a sit-down strike because of the unfair treatment they were getting. And finally, it looked like Edge and Christian were going to do it. The Hardys were going to do it, by the way, because they were at home. There are so many moments. I can't go into all of them because we got to get through this card. But still, man, Jeff missing the swanton, taken out for almost the entire match. Bubba barely getting out of the way. Jeff and Devon hanging in the air. That's after Jeff misses the swanton. He's hanging in the air with Devon, and then Edge and Christian knock him down with the ladders. Matt almost getting it before he gets taken out by Devon. The Dudleys are just throwing people through tables. Bubba goes through 4. There's so many great spots. It's just unbelievable with what they did in this. But yeah, Edge and Christian came out on top. The evil, sneaky heels found a way to prevail once again and continued on their reign of awesomeness, as they were calling it at that time. But yeah, love this match. Great matchup. Cool. All right.
Listen,
I was just leaving the floor open.
Matt, that was a great selection. Honestly, there's like 3 or 4 matches on your card. Another 2. Your next one, I considered, and then your number 9, what you're going to touch on, another one that I wanted so bad. There's 3 on your card that I really, really wanted. You took right before me. Hove's already anointing you the winner. He says Matt just won this with his selection, as well, talking about the TLC, as well as the main event, but he's going to wait before he makes it official to hear mine.
Okay. All right.
It was pretty good. It is funny, though, Matt, that we talked about you almost built your card like you were building like an ECW card.
Yeah.
That's why I said it. I built a train wreck card, and I am so happy that I did it.
But you're the train wreck that nobody can look away from.
No.
You're like you know it's rough, but you're like, what's gonna happen next?
It's like I walked into the room and I said, "Hey guys, listen. I want you to go out there and I want you to beat the absolute shit out of each other so that no one ever forgets this night. Can you do that? Good. Have fun."
It's like when you go back and you watch, what was that documentary? Beyond the Ring or whatever, Beyond the Match.
Beyond the Match.
They show the Paul Heyman like talking to the boys in the back, and he cuts that promo to the ECW locker room. That's Matt.
Yeah.
Right now.
That is. I feel like that's Maddie all the time.
Yeah,
that's not just right
true.
now, right? When we really sit down and think about this, like, look, think about it, right? You've got me to where I'm more of the attitude, the late attitude era on. That's kind of where, because that's where I started watching wrestling.
Same period as me.
You and Chrome, you guys are the more, the golden era, the new generation of professional wrestling, the 80s and the 90s, right? But Maddie, while yes, you still watch the same wrestling I did, you're that train wreck, underground, indie, grunge. This is something I can't tear away from, but goddamn, is it awful kind of wrestling. Yet you still pick fantastic matches. How does that happen?
Maddie was the epitome of the target audience for the ECW crowd.
Yes. Like if you could put it on a poster and go, "This is who we want to target," It's Madison Sudi.
It is.
I'm not gonna lie. There are very few ECW shows that I've watched that I dislike. So yeah, I
you
will
go,
admit
there
that. But on to number 8.
I would
Booker
hope that
T.
December to Dismember would be one of those that you
Well,
dislike.
No,
Yeah,
that's the one he loves the most.
anything like post like after One Night Stand, the first One Night Stand's like, okay,
Yeah.
cut it off. This was no.
Yeah.
You killed it, WWE. You
Oh,
Disney'd
you
it.
didn't like
Great
the second
job.
one?
All right, but so on to the WCW Championship from SummerSlam 2001. Booker T, who had Shane McMahon, the owner, quote unquote, of WCW at that time in his corner, versus The Rock. Yes, this was during that alliance angle, and what a match this was. You had two guys that were actually very similar. They were just the biggest
Great
showman
match.
you could ask for. Booker had all that. He was stealing all of Rock's stuff. He was doing the bookend. He did the spin-a-rooney, which was the most electrifying move in sports entertainment instead of the people's elbow. It was great. That whole buildup was awesome. If you didn't, that made me a fan of Booker T. This rivalry made me a huge fan of Booker T because, like, I know he's supposed to be the bad guy, but I love Booker T. He's awesome. You got to love it. But, Booker and The Rock, great matchup. It was chaotic as usual for an Attitude Era matchup that you would speak of. And APA actually came out and took Shane out of the match, too, which was even funnier. But
Wasn't this the same build-up when The Rock and Jericho had those string of promos with Stephanie, Shane, Booker, and I think Rhino was in the
Yes.
ring?
yes, it was. It was that
those
whole
are-
time where they were
Those
shitting
are
on
my
Steph.
favorite. Oh my
That was a
god.
great period. And then Booker went to the Hollywood set because The Rock had done the movie by that point, Scorpion King, and he tried to act on Raw one day, and he kept saying all the actions on the script. Oh my god, it was great. but yeah, so Rock goes over here, which really shouldn't surprise anybody that he did. But The Rock beat Booker T, became WCW champion. He would actually hold on to that belt for a little while in terms of that era. But it was a great matchup. It's a shame that the rivalry never really did anything after that. That was kind of the cutoff point for this rivalry. But still, it was a great one while it lasted. It absolutely was.
Pun intended?
Okay. Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
And
great
on
match.
to-
Great introduction for Booker T in the WWE to the WWE audience. I was always a big Booker T guy. I loved Harlem Heat, even though they were heels when I was a kid. I was such a big Booker T and Stevie Ray fan. I loved Sister Sherry with them. They were just different, and I gravitated towards them. I found them to be captivating. And then Booker T finally in WCW becoming a television champion, having an awesome best of 7 with, I believe, Chris Benoit at that time.
yes.
He was a dude that was always on the radar for me, man. And to see him be a part of that WWE, WCW terrible invasion angle, he was one of the really few hugely bright spots of all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And moving forward, number 9, the unsanctioned match between Triple H versus Shawn Michaels in 2002.
Bastard.
Now, let me bring you guys back to this. I had never seen Shawn Michaels wrestle. So let that sink in for a moment because I miss Shawn. I started watching in 99. Shawn got hurt in 98. So I never seen him wrestle.
Oh,
So
wow.
for the first time, the only time I'd ever seen him was in highlight packages or if I managed to get a VHS tape that had a Shawn Michaels match on it.
Well, see, now
But
that,
You
see, now that he brings that up,
missed it.
Yeah.
now that
missed
he
all
brings
of
that
them.
up, I'm the same way. Because
Yeah.
WrestleMania 15, because 15 was in Philly, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, 15 was in Philly. There was a build-up show, like a house show to that I went to, and that was my exposure to wrestling. And 15 was the first thing I ever watched on TV. So damn, I never saw Michaels wrestle either.
Me and Pete,
Yeah.
man, we go back to the Rockers, man.
That's because y'all are as old as dirt.
I remember the Saturday morning watching the actual broadcast of Shawn Michaels putting Marty Jannetty through the barbershop window on Superstars. I remember
Sean, why'd you
watching
do that, Sean? Why'd you do that, Sean?
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, you saw him break you guys' hearts because the Rockers were gone. Yeah. Then he
I
became
had
that.
I had that Spotlight magazine that Sean tore in half of the Rockers.
You still have it?
No, it's gone.
Oh.
I do have some pretty classic WWF magazines though, from like the 80s and 90s.
Nice.
What's a magazine?
Let's just say Vince made the right
Exactly.
call at that time. He picked the right guy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially given recent events.
Oh,
Pick
yeah.
the right guy.
Yeah.
I mean,
But-
Butts.
that
yeah.
match.
So,
Go ahead, Maddie.
okay, I was just going to say, yes. So I had never seen Shawn before. And for him to come into this match having no real prior knowledge of Shawn Michaels, I think the first match I ever watched on a VHS tape of him was Undertaker and Shawn in a Hell in a Cell match, the first ever one. That was the first match I ever saw of Shawn actually in the ring. And I'd seen him on television here and there when he would come on doing the commissioner shtick. That didn't last very long. It was blink and you miss it. And to see him in this first match back against Triple H, who I could not stand, I hated, even though he was supposed to be a babyface in 02 for a period of time, I still didn't like him. I still wanted Undertaker to retain the title, and he was the bad guy during that time period. That's how much I hated Triple H. But, that was such a great match to see one of the guys I despised the most, Triple H, to face one of the guys I never got a chance to see because I missed him, in Shawn Michaels, and they pulled out all the stops. They did everything. The ladders, the tables, the spots with the chair when Triple H side slammed Shawn's back into the chair. And it's just like, oh my God, and JR selling that, and the commentary was just spectacular. King wasn't biased in this match. It was unbelievable.
Wasn't this the same match where Michaels wrestles in the jeans
Yes.
Yep.
and
Yes.
he gets busted bad?
Yep.
Yes.
After the match. Oh, it was
Yep.
during, but and then he got
It was
destroyed
during.
after the match.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. Like, besides the match being so good, I think Shawn gets the win on like a roll up or some shit, right?
Yeah,
Something
not
Yep.
Sweet Chin Music, roll up, yep.
as a roll up, and then good old Sludgy. That's what good old
Sledgy.
Sludgy come out right to the back, man. I was just like, I probably could have punched Triple H in the face if I saw him on the street at that point.
Yeah, Triple H was the best heel at that time.
Almost 5 years away, man, and for him to come back and put up the caliber match that he did with Hunter, it's one of the greatest things that I've seen in terms of being a wrestling fan, maybe ever. It was very impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. And after that, I knew who Shawn Michaels was, and I was a fan right after that contest.
This guy's pretty good. He's pretty good at this.
Yeah. All right. So, on to number 10, my WWF Championship match from 1998. Stone Cold Steve Austin defending his championship and came out with a Smoke and Skull belt that night against The Undertaker. And I had to throw an Undertaker main event in here. It was either going to be 97 against Brett or it was going to be Stone Cold. It was going to be one of those two main events. But this matchup won it because the build-up was so great. Like, that build-up was tremendous. Then it's a shame that they don't keep it in, but they had Highway to Hell as the actual theme song for SummerSlam that year. And sucks that they took that out, but the promos were great. The build-up was great. The fact that you didn't know if Kane was going to get involved. I will admit, there is one criticism that I have heard about this match, is that you don't have a definite heel or babyface, which... Right. To be fair, Taker was drifting at that time. He was going to turn heel, but it just wasn't cemented yet. So, yeah, that took a little bit of pin out of the match. And Austin did get hurt very early in this match. He got concussed. But they still had a great matchup underneath all of that. Austin still, with instinct, was able to pull off some great spots. They had that spot where Taker jumps off the top of the turnbuckle, comes down onto Austin on the table. Table barely breaks. So you're thinking like, oh my God, Austin's eating all of that. So that is just unbelievable. And then you had spots where Taker was getting taken down vertically and Austin was trying to take out his legs. The ending, I will admit, I'm going to admit this with the ending. It does come out of nowhere. Taker comes down off the top. Austin does hit him with the stunner once and does get the 3. All right, I'll admit that ending did come out of nowhere. But still, though, it was still a really good match. Despite the fact that Austin did get hurt, they still put on a great performance, and it was still a workhorse kind of match. They put a lot into it, and it was a slugfest, as it was going to be. Oh, and Taker told Kane not to get involved during the contest as well, so there was storytelling in there.
I'm going to disagree with you. I think this match sucked. I think this is kind of where your card has its weakest point. I think there's a lot of really great main events that happen at SummerSlam, and be honest, you talked about it. Austin got concussed, and Austin himself doesn't like this match. It's not a favorite match of his that he's ever had. I don't think it's even in the realm of the Undertaker's greatest matches. I will give you this much, Maddie. The build-up to this match was phenomenal. Unfortunately, when it comes to the match, totally fell flat for me. Never liked it. Didn't like it when I saw it. I think that Rock and Triple H stole the show in terms of this pay-per-view. Yep. I just felt like this was a very underwhelming match from two incredible legends, particularly with how highly anticipated it was. I find this to be a very disappointing main event for SummerSlam. Rest of your card, I love the rest of your card, to be honest with you.
It's just how the match turned out is what you're saying, that you just didn't like.
It wasn't good. It wasn't a good match, and a lot of it could possibly be contributed. It's like Undertaker and Brock. You get concussed early, and I don't think the quality of the match was very good. They've had plenty of chemistry before. I don't think this is even close to their best together. It's just not. I mean, just not my favorite by any stretch of the imagination, obviously.
Okay.
But I mean,
anybody else?
So to look at it from what it's supposed to be, right, as a card, how the hell do you follow Triple H and Shawn?
It's a fair point.
So there's a fair point.
Right. What main event do you pick that follows that match?
And to think about it, in 2002, when that match had to be followed by Brock and Rock, and the only reason why it got followed decently was that Brock went over. That's pretty much the only reason why. If Rock had gone over, I guarantee you they would have booed him right out of the building.
Well, but they did. They booed him out of the building halfway through that match.
They did, but I'm saying, like, if Rock had gone over, it would have killed it.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, you could have went Vader and Shawn 96.
I could have done that one, I could have done that one. But Shawn, he kind of throws a temper tantrum in the middle there. I guess it's a fair tad better than getting concussed.
It was a great match, by the way. Shawn and Vader in Philadelphia.
96.
Or not Philadelphia. It
wasn't Philly,
but yeah.
If it was Philly, I would have been there.
That was a great match.
I was there. I was in Philly. This is definitely off the beaten path. In your house, Shawn versus Mankind for the title.
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of originally.
I was there for that one. Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Mind Games.
Yep.
Phenomenal pay-per-view.
Yeah, but okay then. So now it's time to go to the judges.
I'm gonna say 8. I'm 8.5. The main event did hurt you.
I got you.
The main event hurt. Yeah, I gotta go 8.
Yeah, it's crazy how when we were drafting on Monday, we're like, this is just like a fucking ECW show. Like, this is like a WrestlePalooza. Then when you start seeing it, we start the conversation aspect of it's like, it's a strong ass card.
Yeah, I had him at 9 until the main event.
The main event.
Yeah, the main event is what killed you. You were a solid 9.
Yeah.
And then it was like you were. Never mind. I'm not even going there. Nope. I was gonna say you were like Hell in a Cell last year, but that entire show that entire show sucked.
That's funny. Yeah, I agree. The main event definitely knocked it down a few pegs for me, so I'd give it an 8.
Okay.
Still solid though. Very, very good.
Still better than Andy's score.
I enjoy my card. I'll sit and watch my card every week.
FWO.
Yeah, thanks for that solidarity, dickhead.
All right, gentlemen. Time for the main event of this show. We're gonna put up my card here.
Suck.
Yeah, okay. All right. So, obviously, with my card, I tried to find special moments, special matches. I'm kicking my card off with what I would consider, if not the best, one of the greatest opening matches in the history of WrestleMania, or SummerSlam, rather. Kurt Angle versus Rey Mysterio, 2002. Shut up, Ralphie.
I love you, Ralph.
Phenomenal card, phenomenal match there. And it might be, for me, the SummerSlam highlight of both of those guys. Number 2, I move on to Ambrose and Rollins versus The Bar for the Raw Tag Team Championship. It was a cool moment. Ambrose comes back. You get Seth and Ambrose winning a tag team titles. One of those really special moments. And again, this kind of started to plant the seeds for what we ended up eventually leading to their breakup and their demise.
Right.
Number 3, again, I'm looking for special moments here. Finn Balor versus The Fiend. I really felt like this was important. Obviously, The Fiend is main eventing this year in a title match, but when you look at the history of Bray and all the setbacks that have happened, and then you think about the instantaneous moments. You know, we had these Firefly Funhouse kind of anticipatory promos building up for months and months, and then when we finally we saw like an image of what the Fiend was going to look like, but to see the presentation, to see that lantern for the first time with the Bray Wyatt head,
Yes.
I think we all felt like that was something special. That's something we've never seen before. And I felt I don't know that we're ever going to see anything specifically like that again, because there's only one first. I mean, I can honestly, truly say, guys, I felt like this was the first time since the Undertaker character that I had a special feeling about something in terms of the character, and something that's like normally very gimmicky. I just thought it was a home run. I still think it's a home run, despite some of the setbacks that they've had with it. I think they're starting. Oh, brutal. They are starting to find some strides with this character, though, by not making him completely invincible. So I just felt like this character now and going forward is going to be such an important part. So for me, obviously, I had that Finn and the Fiend. Number 4 to me might be one of the greatest Intercontinental title matches ever.
Top 3.
You know, if you go on any list, man. I mean, I know we talked about how great yours was, Pete, from '92, but any list you go on, it at worst, it's a top 5 Intercontinental title match of all time, not just SummerSlam. Of all time, this is always ranked in the top 5. Mr. Perfect versus Brett. Go ahead.
This match is better than my match. The moment in my match is bigger. That's it.
It's a main event.
Yeah, this match right here. It's
Perfect
epic,
is
man.
so underrated. When you talk to wrestling fans today, he is so underappreciated and underrated.
It's a real shame that he never really got that main event opportunity, and he did go to WCW, and they didn't really do much with him. I mean, he was a U.S. champ there, but
he was the lead singer of that little country western group they had going.
That was not a good thing. No,
I mean,
that's terrible.
Whatever happened politics-wise backstage after he broke the belt with Hogan, and they never had that payoff. If you're thinking typical 80s, early 90s heel, he was it. All the vignettes. Absolutely
2 guys.
Perfect. You know what I mean? It's just ridiculous.
It's 2 guys. It was him and Rick Rude.
Yes.
Those are the 2 guys that in my mind were so hateable. So full of themselves. And this is the time where Mr. Perfect had Coach in his corner. And that was annoying. That was before Fonzie was around. You know, our good friend Fonzie, you know, with a whistle and running around in the corner. It's just such a phenomenal match. You had the Hart family in the audience. Special moment between Stu and Brett at the end of this. And again, you know, Perfect is one of those guys. It's a shame he never got a title run, him and Rude. And I just, you guys know, I told you guys, I picked this, I think, pretty quick because I couldn't let one of the greatest matches of all time fall through my fingers.
Yep.
Number 5, I go with the Mega Powers versus the Mega Bucks. It's the first main event of SummerSlam ever. It's action packed. It's star powered. Another Jesse Ventura special referee appearance. It's an iconic time. The Mega Powers before they explode, and you can kind of see the seeds of jealousy towards the end of this. You have the Mega Powers versus the Mega Bucks, Andre and Ted DiBiase. Obviously, you have them trying to cheat to win, and then Elizabeth gets up onto the apron and she removes her skirt, and then they end up winning. It distracts DiBiase and Andre. Mega Powers get the win here. You can see that Savage has a little bit of a jealousy with Elizabeth, kind of starting to plant some of the seeds of it. It's a wonder. I thought it was a great addition to this. Get some star power on my card from from 4 of the greatest of all time. You have to have Hogan on the card since you took my freaking Hogan match, you son of a bitch. So
You're welcome, Pete.
I went Mega
Thank you,
Powers
Marty.
versus Mega Bucks here with my number 5.
By the way, when Liz did that whole thing, did girls still have cooties after that?
Maybe. Who knows?
Butters!
Butters popping in. What's up, Butters?
Butters.
My man
AKA
took time out of his break at work to jump in and say hi.
I love
Hello.
it. Butters.
AKA
Thank you,
Andy
brother.
with hair.
Miss you, buddy.
That's all. That's what he is.
Andy with hair. God damn.
Moving on to the second half of my card here, I have Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch versus Carmella, in which Charlotte Flair wins this matchup. And this is so important. It's from 2018, the SmackDown Women's Championship. I remember, Maddie, remember going into this, we talked about this match very heavily. And I said then, Becky Lynch needs to turn heel at this point. We need to see a different Becky. She needs to develop this character because at that time we were talking about who could be somebody on the cut list. We thought her name was coming up. It was getting stale real quick. The Becky Balboa crap was very old.
It got old pretty quick, and she hadn't done anything since she was the first SmackDown Women's Champ, and that had been almost a year ago.
Yeah, and I did predict in this match, just as it happened, that Becky Lynch would turn heel in this. Now, obviously, it was a short heel run, but what we did get was we had the seeds planted for the man character, taking out Charlotte, establishing, herself as a main event player, as someone who's not going to be stepped on by the likes of Charlotte Flair, eventually Sasha Banks, and everybody else who would come through, Ronda Rousey. This was the birth of the incarnation of the man. And I think that this is iconic. This might be the most iconic women's moment in the history of SummerSlam. I don't know if there's,
I can see that.
Maybe you want to go back and talk about Bertha Faye and Alundra Blaze. I don't know.
Or Bull Nakano and Alundra.
Or Bull Nakano was it. Bull Nakano. Although that was important. I think that's the first time that the women ever had a title defense at SummerSlam.
Yeah.
It was.
But I just felt like this was a really special moment. My number 7, Undertaker versus Mankind in the Boiler Room Brawl, guys. This match is absolute fire. This is everything Maddie loves. Who needs a damn ring? Let's just go back in the boiler room and beat the shit out of each other with pipes and walls and everything else.
That's just a normal Tuesday for Maddie.
But
right,
when I got the network, I'm not gonna lie, that was one of the first shows that I wanted to watch because it had it on it.
Don't even doubt it. I mean, honestly, to me, this is the greatest Undertaker SummerSlam. I think it's so iconic. And then again, the iconic moments I wanted to add to my card. This is when Paul Bear turns on the Undertaker. The infamous kneel before Paul Bear in the ring. He's asking for the urn. Undertaker, Paul Bear starts to kind of look at him, and then he cracks him over the head, and he leans on the rail, and that sinister smile on his face as he's laughing. Yep. It's iconic. And again, this feud between Undertaker and Mankind is historic. It's wonderful.
And this is coming off of, this is after Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
So I'm like, how's this dude even walking at that point? Like,
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's
Is
not
it-
after Hell in a Cell. This is because Hell in a Cell is 98.
No, this is before. Yeah, this is one of their very first matches together. This is actually the birth of the rivalry.
So that's right, because he was still in the brown top. Hell in a Cell, he had the white. Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
Well, Undertaker was still in the purple here.
No, I'm talking about Mankind.
Right. This is actually the last that we see of the Undertaker with the purple stirrups and gloves. When he comes back, he starts wearing the leather at Survivor Series.
Yeah, and that was kind of like the rebirth of the Undertaker because he came down from the ceiling and he had the bat wings and everything like that, you know. And
those were horrible.
It was.
I hate it. It was real weird.
It was weird, but it was one of those moments where you started to see Taker started working faster, and then you realize, okay, so Taker is now doing what he was doing back in WCW. He's just now doing it with Undertaker stuff, and it's better than than it was in WCW. Gotcha, cool.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's one of my favorite Undertaker moments of his entire career. Pretty awesome. So next we have. I needed star power, guys. I needed to get some of these guys on the card. So I went with the Elimination Chamber for the World Heavyweight title from 2003. It's an action-packed match. Triple H, Jericho, Orton, Nash, Goldberg, and HBK. I don't know what that said, but I just felt like this was such an action-packed match. Triple H wins this match. Goldberg kind of gets the shit beat out of him at the end of it. But that's honestly, it's a good Elimination Chamber match. It's not the most memorable, but to be able to pull that kind of star power, I thought was pretty special and showed how important SummerSlam was to them. You know, we're not talking about the Carlitos and Chris Masters being thrown in like we saw in years to follow. This was an action-packed match. Everybody on this list, everybody in this match is a main eventer, is a Hall of Fame talent. So pretty special match.
It was.
Yes, it
and
was.
It has one parallel with the unsanctioned match. At the end of the day, we all really hated Triple H after the contest because he was still world champ at the end.
Well, and what's also crazy about that match, right? It's only the second one to ever happen. And to this day, it is by far the shortest Elimination Chamber match ever.
Yeah, it was not. It was only like, what, 25 minutes or something like that?
No, not even that. It clocks in at 19 minutes and 12 seconds.
Holy shit, that is short. And that's one of the few bright spots in that 2003 card, because that SummerSlam card was kind of weak. So it was one of the bright spots.
Moving on, my number 9 match, I had to go Brock Lesnar versus CM Punk. These were the battle of the Paul Heyman guys. It was a no DQ match. I thought this match was fantastic. Punk held his own against Lesnar, and I thought it was one of Lesnar's best matches. He looked like $1 million in this match. And one of Punk's, this was kind of towards the tail end of Punk stepping away at that following Royal Rumble in 2014 in Pittsburgh, which I was at that match. So I have a special spot in my heart for this match. I really enjoyed this match a lot. And I thought the build-up was spectacular for this as well.
This was on the heels of Summer of Punk, wasn't it?
No,
was that next year or was that later?
That was 2 years before that.
Was that 2 years before?
That was 2011.
Yeah, 2011.
I could have sworn it was right around the same time.
No, it's 2011.
I think it was coming off the heels of his run with the WWE title.
It was.
He had
lost it, and he had lost it that January to The Rock.
Yes.
Yeah.
My number 10, guys, my main event, John Cena versus Daniel Bryan. Again, I'm looking at great matches and iconic moments. The match alone, spectacular. Special guest referee Triple H in this. And then, obviously, the big swerve, the big payoff after the fact. Daniel Bryan defeats John Cena. Huge moment here. To which was spoiled and officially plants the seeds for one of the greatest WrestleMania moments at WrestleMania 30. And that was Triple H turning heel, becoming the authority figurehead and recruiting Randy Orton as the you know, you could almost say the corporate champion, the chosen champion of the authority. Randy Orton cashes in on Daniel Bryan. His Money in the Bank, becomes WWE champion here. I really thought 2013 was a really strong card. Clearly, I have 2 matches on there. And I thought that this was one of the best and most iconic endings to, I mean, I picked it as my first choice for, I ended up picking the first main event. I thought this was a phenomenal match and a strong way to end it. So, and just to let people know, because the original match is John Cena and Daniel Bryan, Randy Orton being in my Elimination Chamber match does qualify for this. Just because he cashed in the Money in the Bank doesn't mean anything. It's just an additional little thing that we get.
So when you watch 2003, he's Mr. Money in the Bank in that Elimination Chamber.
So that's my card, guys. You know, again, I tried to have big moments. I tried to organize the card in terms of having the ebbs and flows. How do you guys feel about the card that I presented here?
You know, looking back on that, I mean, from the way I'm looking at it, I can't really bring the card back up, please, because I don't think first half.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me just double check here. I mean, I'm gonna have to say, I'm gonna give it a 9. I think
I'm looking at it now.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 9. Yeah, I think you had the best one, Chrome.
Thanks, buddy.
That perfect Bret Hart match put you over the top. I mean, it's a star-studded. I think the weakest match is probably number 2.
Yeah, out of everything, right?
Yeah, that's the weakest match.
Fucking Ralphie. You know,
listen, for life.
and you know what was crazy about it, guys? I mean, I felt really good about the card, and I did get to go back and watch a lot of it. It's so hard, and this is what was so hard about this. To have a card that doesn't have Austin, doesn't have Rock, I'm missing somebody else too, but it is pretty crazy. But you know why I don't feel so bad about it? First of all, if we go within the rules, you have to have, like, if I have Rock, I don't have Cena. And you have to think about a lot of these guys, aside from the Kiss My Ass match, every Rock match is a title match. So if I have to take a title match with someone else, it takes every Rock match out. And honestly, guys, like, I felt like when I look at Austin at SummerSlam, my only choice, and we laughed about this at the end of it, was to take Austin versus, like, Yokozuna from the free-for-all from SummerSlam 96, or it was a 97, one of those two.
97 was the Owen one.
Right. So, and I had already I wasn't going to take that over Brett and Perfect. But when you look at it, you know, I could have taken, just to have Austin on the card, the match where Yokozuna falls off the top rope, snaps, and he falls down and gets pinned. But I'm not going to do that because it was a minute and 20-something second match. It was a stupid match.
And that match was so long ago, Austin didn't even have his theme song yet.
Yeah, and I mean, Owen and Austin is iconic in that he broke his neck. The match isn't great.
No, it's not.
So, you know, I wasn't going to forego, and it was really, really hard to have a match without those. You guys were with me. I'm like, oh my God, how do I get these guys on the card? I couldn't. You took my match away from me, Pete, you bastard. And then I almost took the one that Maddie had, but if I didn't take that, if I took the Booker T match, then I don't have HBK on my card. I don't have Triple H on my card. I don't have Goldberg on my card. I don't have Orton on my. There's so many names I wouldn't have on my card. So it was. This was a lot of fun, I have to say, guys. We should definitely do this for all of the big major, the big 4 events.
Survivor Series would be interesting. That'd be tough.
That's gonna be a pain in the ass.
We're gonna have to do some rules on that one because of the Survivor Series tag matches.
Well, Pete, we kind of discussed. You were with us, Maddie. I think Andy might have hopped off last time. We discussed a few interesting parameters that we can do for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was a lot of fun, guys. SummerSlam is this weekend. NXT Takeover tomorrow. We're going to have In This Very Ring tomorrow night, giving us a live reaction show for the first hour. Second hour is going to be a SummerSlam preview. I'll be happy to join Mr. Ritz and Butters. Thank you for popping in, by the way, Butters, for that show. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And we may have some really exciting stuff coming on the horizon in September on this show. So keep an eye on that. We're working on some stuff. But overall,
SummerSlam prediction ballots will be dropping in the morning because it's too damn late to do it now.
So make sure that you check that out. Look for those guys. Get in there, have fun, participate. And are we still doing you appear on a show or no?
Yeah, winners, if they ever want to, winner gets to appear on the show.
There
the
you
following week.
The winner gets to have a cameo and be on be a special co-host or a special guest on one of the shows and talk some wrestling with Ritz and Butters. And if they have any guests, whether it's Pete, Matty, or myself that join on, you get to join us in a conversation. It's a fun time. I've been a 2-time champion, so
also never sent the belt back. I had to physically fly home and pick it up.
That did happen. It did happen. He sent it to me, and I said, I don't feel like sending this thing back.
He goes,
so
you're going to be out.
See you
It's December. You're going to be out in April. I'll just give it to you then.
That's basically what happened. That's how that went down.
What a jackass.
But listen, this was a good time, and we'll definitely do this again. And guys, if you're watching this or checking it out, get back to us. Comment on one of the videos, and we want to know, who do you believe had the best card? What were your favorite SummerSlam moments? Don't let the conversation stop just because the feed cuts off. Keep talking to us in there, and we're going to have a lot of fun with it going forward. And again, don't forget to hop on tomorrow and check us out. You can check out the weekly roundup in the morning for you guys, for your sports fans, as well as In This Very Ring tomorrow, Saturday night, and Agree to Disagree to round out the week on Sunday. Yes.
Kicking It Stateside too tomorrow, right?
Kicking It Stateside.
Yeah, Kicking It Stateside goes live at 10:30 in the morning. Weekly roundup will go live God knows when. And then we're gonna try to go right after Takeover ends. Worst comes to worst, it'll be probably half an hour, 45 minutes after the end of Takeover.
There you go, guys. So thank you again for joining us. And again, check us out. Check out the video if you missed any part of it. YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter. And hey, go and check out the podcast platforms. iHeartRadio, Google Play, iTunes or Apple Podcasts, whatever you call it, Spreaker, Spotify, SoundCloud. Follow, subscribe, and make sure you guys join us next week. We're going to recap SummerSlam. We're going to talk about the Thunderdome.
Thunderdome. You haven't seen the Thunderdome yet, so you have to watch it. I have
not seen it. No, listen, there's a Flyers game tonight. Flyers took precedence. I will go back and check out the Thunderdome so I can have a sensible conversation with the kind gentleman over at In This Very Ring tomorrow. Thank you to Ralphie for your producing expertise. Ralphie, we love you and appreciate you, buddy.
Lakers still suck.
Thank you to everybody that commented on and shared your thoughts. We appreciate you. And hey, if you get a chance, go on and share the video somewhere on your social. As well as thank you to our sponsors, Dr. Paul Vidal, Specialized Physical Therapy. Check him out, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. No appointment necessary. Michael Ambrose and Ambuck Services. Check them out, ambuckservices.com. Oh, boy.
I thought that one got taken out.
Oh, man.
I thought that one got taken out.
Oh, that one's a good one.
I might have nightmares about that one, man.
You're gonna hear from my attorney.
How could you destroy such a beautiful thing like Scarlet? What a mess. Anyway.
And always go Lakers, of course.
But yeah, hit up Michael Ambrose. Let them know that A2B sent you guys. Get your 20% off. QB54, playqb54.com. Promo code A2D, 20% off. Purchase that best tailgating game. Shout out to our boys over at phillydrinkers.com. Andy, phenomenal shirt right now, buddy.
It's okay.
Phenomenal shirt. Hey, listen, go on. Get your A2D gear, get your show shirts, get your sports themed shirts, your Philly sports themed shirts. Are we still doing the special on the QB Factory shirt?
I
I
think
believe
so.
so.
So use the promo code A2D. It's going to get you 25% off only that shirt, not your full order. It's a great shirt. Get on there, Philadelphia Quarterback Factory shirt, as well as tumblers, shorts, the most comfortable shorts in the world, by the way, and anything else that you guys need. Check them out. Stickers. They have other gear on there. Check them out. PhillyDrinkers.com. Shout out to Alex. We appreciate it. For us here, you guys have a great one. Enjoy SummerSlam. Check us out tomorrow on In This Very Ring. And have a great night. Stay safe.
Peace.